This talk is interactive, so I encourage you to open your laptops and devices and go to bit.ly SBOBIB12. But you don't have to. I'm Liza, this is Keith. We used to work at a company called 3Press, where we did digital consulting and software development. At 3Press, our customers were publishers, so we spent most of our time thinking about how to help publishers work in this new digital landscape with files and formats and EPUB and XML. But now we are at Safari Books Online, like many of the people you have heard from today. And Safari is a product company where we help people learn new skills, learn new technologies. We focus on business and technology books. And the mechanism for learning that has been through books and videos. What's changed for me moving from a publishing services company to a product company is, well, a lot, but in particular, I don't think the same way about things like files anymore. EPUB files and formats is what I did for a living, but now I think much more about our customers who are readers. They are the people who get the books, the chapters, and the video clips, and files to them happen behind the scenes. They're unimportant. So when Peter said that the subject of this books and browsers, or the theme at least, was going to be about authorship and writing, I decided to take some of my own shift in thinking about the importance of files and formats all the way back to the beginning, to authorship. And what I think we're coming to is the fact that moving from writing on paper to typing on a typewriter to using any of the word processing tools that we've had in the last 20 years all fundamentally have the same user interface. You're given a white rectangle to work with, and you fill it up with the written word. There are a couple things that are happening outside the publishing industry that I want to start with that are causing me to shift my thinking about whether at least the white rectangle is the only form of input that we could have to writing systems. And this isn't really writing specific, but I've noticed my own behavior shifting when it comes to GPSs. I used to buy a device, a physical device that I put in my car that I would type in where I wanted to go, and then it would give me driving directions. I moved to using an app on my phone, which was better because I didn't need the second device, but I still had to make a conscious choice to pick up a device, open an application, and once again, usually type in an address or maybe a place, and then it would give me directions. And though Apple Maps is terrible, it's been very different now that I can pick up my phone and talk to the phone and just say directions to the vet, and it knows what my vet is because it can look in my address book and it just starts giving me directions. There's no tool there. There's the phone, but I don't make any decision other than the problem I'm trying to solve, which is that I want directions. I don't need to think about the tool. And I think that's happening in many forms of content creation, like the integration of photo management systems right into the camera applications on our phone. You are just doing the action of taking the picture. You're not choosing a tool. So even though we're aware that we are mostly, at this point, creating digital publications, that UI for writing is still that white rectangle, and everything you're given in choices that you make when you do editing is about the look of the words on a piece of paper, even if it's remaining digital. And I'm not sure that word processor is even the right thing. It's really it's a paper processor that just may not get printed. And apologies to Adam Whitwer. There are very few people who are going to write more digital native publications by learning a markup language. I love markup languages, even XML, but that isn't, asking people to do semantic tagging or structured markup is swimming against the tide of other content creation tools where the tool itself is really becoming invisible. On the flip side, here are some trends that I do find interesting that might point a way at least towards experimentation. Voice recognition used to be a tool. You used to say, I have a hard time writing. I need to start speaking to my computer because I have RSI. So you would buy a package, install it, and that would give you voice recognition. But as of today, there's native voice recognition in my phone, in my computer, in my web browser, and on my gaming system that are all pretty good. They're not great, but I expect them to go from pretty good to great now that they're becoming ubiquitous in consumer devices. And I also expect the trajectory of voice to follow that of touchscreen, where we will start to see YouTube videos of small children talking to inanimate objects because they expect that affordance the way we see them try to tap on paper magazines. And everyone in this room, of course, knows that publishing isn't paper publishing anymore, but I think even my peers, we haven't really accepted the scale to which that's not true. At this point, I won't make up a number, but I think it's fair to say that overwhelmingly, almost probably 99% of anything that's ever written today will never be printed. Never. It will always be digital. And paper is more than just even an afterthought. We are probably prematurely optimizing for a printed outcome that will never arrive for the majority of documents. And especially last year, a lot of people were talking about their social reading platforms. And I think we are not anywhere near the end of experimenting with social reading. But again, looking at trends, I think it's unlikely for us to expect large-scale adoption of collaborative and social reading and commentary happening in a specialized framework that's closely tied to the text. I think people want to talk about media and they want to comment and they want to edit, but they want to do that close to their peers. They want to do it near other people, not necessarily near the words. There are certainly specialized applications where that link between the person and the text is important, but again, I'm talking about general consumer behavior. People are going to want to talk where the people are, not where the words are. So some of you might have noticed that there's a little text box up in the screen that's been filling up as I've been talking, assuming it's working. If you looked at that URL, you probably see something what's going on. Keith and I wanted to experiment with an idea that actually Peter Brantley kind of codified for me yesterday, which is we need more inputs into writing, into storytelling. He was responding to people wondering whether that popcorn demo was relevant to books and saw video as a new kind of input. And I wanted to play with voice and real-time editing and integration with other kinds of social media as an input to a writing process. So this is a little weird experiment. I'm going to switch pretty quickly to showing whatever it looks like. But we wanted to try to do something real time where the manuscript is being written without hands, that everyone participates in the editing, and that the marginalia, the commentary, can happen from multiple sources, in this case in Google Docs as well as in Twitter. And just to obligatory tie this into our company, I see some hint of an application for this kind of thing in the journey that Safari has made, where we started as a company that wanted to provide access to books because books were the place that you would learn information about technical programming, other kinds of topics that were relevant to programmers. And in the 11 years that the company has been around, we did a shift towards adding video, but those videos were professionally produced, very much like a book. They go through the same kind of editorial process. But what we've seen recently, just in the last couple of years, is that some of our most compelling, widely viewed, and intensely viewed content has been just conference presentations and taped versions of seminars, not certainly prepared material, but not professionally edited, not scripted. But what was powerful about it was that it was relevant, that it was recent, and I'm interested in, if we can tie that back, create a book or at least a written account of some of what's compelling about events that happen in real time, and capture even more than just what I'm saying, but what you're thinking and you're commenting on in the moment. So I'm going to switch to a demo, a canned demo. And Keith and I are going to talk just a little bit more, just at a high level, about what our thinking was behind this and what we think is interesting about it.
Right, so it looks like people are looking at the Google Docs. So the Google Docs are the source of the talk. And how many people can see the thing that Liza put up in the beginning? Anybody? Yeah, I think I made GitHub angry. Don't do what I just did. So go to the fake one. This will probably work better when GitHub forgives us, but yeah.
This is the old one.
Yeah. So imagine this, but like 100 times better. Okay, so, and I'm sure we'll be able to see it afterwards. So the
live demos never fail.
Yeah. So as you can see, there are all of your really interesting comments over here on the left. These are all being pulled out of Google Doc. This is allowing us to give really specific
Hang on, I'll get the real fake one.
Feedback on the transcripts that you can see were captured right here. See all this text? It might be, the resolution might be too bad for you guys to see it, but there's a lot of transcript, really interesting, collaboratively edited. The comments over here are pretty insightful. I like what Don Lynn has said. And then...
Oh yeah, they're really mad at us now.
Yes.
It's just not loading at all.
And on the other side, you can see that we're capturing some of the less precise ambient information that is coming on the Twitter stream. And so this is a...
Don't use GitHub pages for your live demo.
Had to try it.
Oh, why is it? It's like now they're redirecting me.
Sure. Well, part of it...
That's wild.
Part of it was that we were trying to make an aesthetic point that now that we're kind of over files, we're also really over text. No. So at some point, oh, not even that one?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's lame.
We've angered them.
Well, I mean, it does. So we made ours really short so that we could totally screw up. Yeah, here we go. I got a good one. Here.
What happened? All right, cool. That thing works.
Oh.
All right, so this is what you don't see, but would have worked if life was fair. So
This isn't quite right, but whatever. So we've got the real transcript, and I was correcting stuff, but it does a pretty good job. Liza spoke a little bit more slowly than I'm speaking right now, and the transcription was able to capture everything. You guys were supposed to be commenting, fail, on the Google Doc, but you can see there's a few up at the top. This would work better if we had shouted at you. And then I didn't really know how in the world to do this, but at some point we'll get to, now we can, I take the timestamp when she started with this slide and when this slide ended, and the hope is if there's enough snarking on Twitter, like right in those couple of minutes, that we capture it on the left. And if you were doing this for real, you would capture every single thing that was being talked about, and then the next day or whatever, you would go and you would delete all of the tweets that were irrelevant rather than capturing everything, so that you could come up with something that was a meaningful capture of all of this activity in the room that would be preserved, because of course this Twitter stuff is so ephemeral that it's going to go away by tomorrow, and we will never be able to save it. But one of the things that pushed us in this direction is, I feel like there are still some places inside the publishing world where there's really gross inefficiency. So I look at this conference where every single person in the audience, and probably many of those people watching online, are more interesting than the folks on stage.
That is certainly true right now.
Right. And so we've got a novel idea, and unlike most conferences, we've at least got a nice video record. Liza's trying to capture the transcript so that we have text in addition to just video, and we're trying to capture...
We could then annotate, like we could do a popcorn version where these comments, instead of being here, actually pop up in the video, because we have a transcript that we can link to the video stream.
Right.
Something I didn't know about until yesterday.
But what totally kills me is the fact that even if we recorded the video and the transcript, we have wasted the fact that there are hundreds of people who are smart and thinking about this right now and ignoring us and tweeting on their phones, and that just all disappears. That is so inefficient. If we're going to go to all this expense to fly these people together to think about interesting topics, we should do a much better job about extracting all the interesting things that you're thinking as we're up here flapping our arms, and not just throw that away.
Any questions? I'll try to get it up. I'll see if I can get it up while you...
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Right.
so Max is saying what we were doing was pushing one Google Doc per slide, which part of it was that appending to a Google Doc through the Drive API is difficult, and you basically have to get it and then push the complete one again. So I was worried about latency. I didn't want to drop people's comments, not that it mattered, but that's certainly true. We also wanted to, when we did some of the early trials, it just kind of looked like I was on a meth bender, because everything just like ran together in this endless series of words. So we thought it was really important to have the slide content interspersed in the right place. So we wanted to have a kind of clean record of each slide. But yeah, I can see that would happen.
Yes.
What is this thing called, was the question. Like this thing, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll take votes. Others? Yes. True.
Yeah, we would edit them out of the
Right.
final
So
thing.
the feedback was that there's more than one axis that we could extract the interesting things from your brains, and the risk in this one is that
So
you're
we did
not
get it back.
interesting.
That
Oh, cool.
GitHub
Hey.
gods are not angry at us
Hooray.
anymore.
Okay. And more tweets. Are there more tweets?
No.
No. What happened to the tweets? Yeah, somebody wrote bad software.
Hey, there we go.
Awesome. So we don't right now, but maybe during the breaks, go and add some comments. You can be precise or imprecise, and we will preserve this artifact as a final thing. Some proof that this idea had any legs. I do think it has utility in a lot of places where somebody has spent the time to think about how to present something with slides, but where the folks in the audience are also quite interesting, and you want to have something that's more useful longer term than just a video, which is great, but is not very efficient.
Or a modern classroom where there are people who are co-located, but many more people who are far away and perhaps asynchronous. One of the other things that's nice about the Google version, like Keith just said, you can add comments later, it becomes part of the record. We did want to capture the real-time part of the Twitter stream, but also have this participation that can happen at a later time using the Google comments and editing.
Thanks, everybody.
Later.